Hello, welcome back to All for United WFC. Apologies for that. Everyone was actually on time again, and it was me that was delaying things and couldn't get the tweet out and everything else to sort out. So that's why we're a few minutes late yet again. Obviously get all your comments in. We're going to start with obviously Marc Skinner's contract extension that got broken yesterday, not by the club, by obviously Graham and Jamie that broke that story. So we'll get obviously into that, and we'll talk a bit about Brighton as well, albeit not too much to say on this opposition because it's not very well noticeable, are they, really? The WSL, let's not be real. There's not too much to talk about there, and we'll talk about some other things as we go. So by all means, get your questions in as you I can see everyone in the comments already. You know, our show's run by now. We've been doing plenty of these throughout the season, so you know how things run. Firstly, Kaz, welcome to the channel. You've been in the comments quite a few times in the last kind of couple of weeks. We've finally managed to get you on board after a couple of attempts. But how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, it definitely took a few attempts. I'm a bit unorganised, to say it at the least. But quite excited. So
it's all good. And like I said, we've got a good little topic that's divided the fan base already to start off with, that's for sure. So let's just dive straight into that then. I'll come to each of you first for kind of your initial thought. Before we go into some of the little, I said details, there's not that much detail out there. But Barry, for yourself, what was your kind of initial thought when you saw that yesterday? Because it came from nowhere. It wasn't really to be honest, wasn't really spoken about, Marc Skinner's contract. What was your thoughts on that when the news came out yesterday that his 1 year extension has been triggered?
If I had party poppers, Connor, I'd put a few of them because listen, I've said it 1,000,001 times. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out that I've been Skinnering since he started doing well this season, because that's literally how it should be. If your manager's doing well and your team's doing well, you should be enjoying the ride. I still think it's absolutely mad that even now, I mean, I'm looking at some of the comments and it's just the same thing. Oh, it's not just a shame. Is it really? It's just I'm quite happy with it, to be honest with you, Connor. I know there's some people out there that wouldn't want him to get a new contract, but I think he's doing better than Casey Stoney did. I don't know that there's anybody out there at this moment in time where we could snap our fingers who's just going to come and manage Manchester United. So for me personally, absolutely delighted. John's just put there, remember what happened with Ollie. I mean, again, I don't know what that's got to do with Marc Skinner. Absolutely nothing. Marc Skinner never played for Manchester United women or indeed Manchester United. So again, can we compare apples with our apples and not with oranges? It's a madness. So I shan't go off on too much of a tangent, Connor, because I don't think we want to start with a massive rant to begin with. So needless to say, delighted, very happy, and would happily dance around the room to celebration by, is it Kool and the Gang or something like that?
Yeah, it is. I was trying to think of who's. Yeah, it was. You are right. Jess, for yourself, what was your kind of? So we're going to go into some of these comments in a second and some of the details of it. But what's your kind of initial thoughts on it?
I'm happy. I actually do have some party poppers downstairs, so I could, get them out. No, I'm really happy, and I think it's a good move by the club. I think it's probably always going to happen. I think people need to remember the 1 year extension, that if things do go terribly wrong, that doesn't mean that we're then stuck with him forever. That is just a single year. I do think it was the right move. And the other thing that I see come up a lot on Twitter and everything else is, player contracts are more important, blah, blah, blah. They're probably still being looked at. It's not like we have to do one at a time. There will be people behind the scenes doing all of this all of the time. That will be their jobs, dealing with everyone's contract. I think we just need to remember that just because the club aren't telling us, which they won't, because it's, an internal thing, it will be happening. And I think we just need to all remember that and not lose our heads too much.
You'd like to hope so, because if a club as big as Man United are working on one at a time, I'd be very, very concerned with the amount that we've got out coming up in the summer. That is for sure, and that's with all the extensions and everything else that we've got. Kaz, for yourself, what was your thoughts on it yesterday?
Well, he's doing something right, so I don't think anyone can really complain. I mean, you look where we're on the table. I think it says enough. Our goal difference and even the team's performances. We've not had, a dreadful game where everyone should be, I just don't know where it's kind of all coming from, because he's not doing anything that's affecting us really. Maybe, there could be decisions that might have changed maybe some outcomes, but I mean, it's nothing that's really affecting us to the point of, well, it's ruining our season when it's not. So I think he's doing something right. So that's all I can. And the players are playing to what they can. So I don't really see what the issue is.
I think that's the point. Is it? The comment I'll get to start with, obviously, on this discussion is this too early? A lot of people have said that we should have waited to the end of the season for this because we might still finish fourth, which is not.
Why?
It's not. No, it is. If we finish fourth, that's not progression. We're still in exactly the same position as we were. However, what I was going to then go on to say, we could still finish fourth and beat our highest ever tally of points in the WSL, which you would argue is progression because we've got a better points tally. It's not our fault that other teams around us have also raised their level as well. But Barry, that's the only thing I can see that is a valid, I guess, and like I said, it is worth saying this wasn't addressed by the club. They've not come out and said this. This is, a journalist that's got a good reputation in getting some early exclusives, and obviously he got one here. Is that any part of your decision making that maybe this is a little bit too early, or again, like you said, it's not like he's been offered a new contract. This is just the extension triggered, which, by the way, we will have done with players that are out in the summer that have got that extension as well. We just don't know about them because the club don't announce these things. So there's probably players that are out in the summer that have had their year extension. It's just not been reported yet.
Mm-hmm. And it very rarely is. You'll find that out when people like Graham Falk and Jamie Spencer release it. I mean, Jamie Spencer's got a really good thing on 90minutes.com where he's got his opportunity to write down all of the contracts, what when they run out for United and who's got extensions and options on those. So I'm sure he'll update those as and when that turns out. This idea of is it too early? I can't. I try so hard to sit here and entertain debate, but I can't play this game. It's madness, Connor. It's like the only people, and I say this with the greatest of love to everybody in the comments, but the only people that are having a go at this being too early are people that have got an issue with Marc Skinner. It's as simple as that. It's nothing to do with what he's doing at the club. It's really not. It's about him. It has to be, because I can't see any other way it works. Let's take it down to the most basic of possibilities. If you're playing Football Manager, you ain't getting sacked this year. It's not happening. If you finish fourth, they're not going to sack you. They might have a look and see how you're getting on in the beginning of the next season, but they're not getting rid of you because you finish fourth. It's like there's just crazy things happening in this world. I mean, like Nagelsmann getting sacked the other day just so they could bring in Tuchel. Who's coming in? We all get rid of Marc Skinner. Who's coming in? Who are we going to get? Is Carla Ward coming? No. And would we want her? Not particularly, because what has she done to prove herself that's any different from Marc Skinner? So we keep on getting this idea that there's going to be this random saviour that's going to come flying in, that's going to make Manchester United great again, as if this is some sort of Donald Trumpian type world that we need, where we're going to end up being taken to the promised land. Who? Who is doing it? Nobody. And I'll tell you why, because nobody wants that job yet. It's going to take someone to do what Skinner's done. We've scored more goals than we scored last season. We conceded less goals than we conceded last season. We got more points than we had at this time last season. We beat Arsenal at the Emirates. We've had good games against Chelsea. We're in the FA Cup semi-final, and still, that's not enough. I guarantee you, Connor, if Casey Stoney did this, we would be kissing the ground she walked on. The ground she walked on. And what has Casey Stoney done? Hang on. Yeah, exactly. Nothing.
I think the difference is it depends what the club objectives are. Because if the club objectives are to finish top 3 and he doesn't make it, then it is too early because we might not make it. Because then he's failed his objectives. That's where I can see a valid argument.
If they've extended it, then that's not the objective, is it? I mean, it is the objective. They want to finish top 3, of course they do. But finishing fourth isn't a regression. They can see what's happened already, even if there is an almighty nuclear explosion of disgraceful performances. They're not silly, these people that do these extensions. They know what they can see because, believe it or not, they see what's going on every day, unlike us sat behind our computer screens pretending we know everything.
We can have a good guess. That's the thing. And Jess and Kaz, have you got anything kind of to offer an alternative view on that, or do you kind of agree with that?
I agree with that. I think people kind of forget that it's not as simple as just finishing top three. You know, like, unfortunately, there's other really, really good teams in the WSL, teams that have been around for a lot of years. You know, like, look at Chelsea and Arsenal. I know Arsenal had a bit of a blip earlier on, same with City, and Arsenal's probably due to injuries. But I mean, they've just got through to the Champions League semi-finals. That is who we are competing against. You know, I think, yes, we do want to see progression in terms of league position, but I think we also need to kind of apply context to this and look at the other teams around us, because there are some very, very good teams. And unfortunately, there just happens to be another 3 very good teams, and we need that third spot. And I do think when you kind of compare player to player, unfortunately, the other teams probably kind of beat us on that front in terms of they've got more sort of world-class players. Because they've been around longer and they can kind of entice people in almost. I think with the team we have got, Skinner is doing an incredible job. And I honestly, I can't really think of a reason why you wouldn't trigger his extension. You know, I do somewhat get the argument if we've not secured top 4, but say we don't get, top 3. Say we don't get top 3. Who are we going to bring in magically at the end of the season? Which is what Barry was saying before. Who are we actually going to get? Unfortunately, Skinner is at the minute the man for the job. And he's got my backing, to be honest. And yes, I saw a comment before about the party poppers. I will go and get them in a minute because I think we need them.
Won't that wake your dog up though? If you start.
Yeah, that's actually why I've got the party poppers. Someone bought them for me and said you need to get him used to party poppers and loud noises. So, at this point, he's probably downstairs listening to like heavy metal anyway, so he's kind of used to it.
That's fair enough. I mean, Kaz, what do you say on this one? That the fact that some fans are saying that it's potentially too early. There's a couple of comments saying should we have waited to see where we are. Some like I said before, the fact that, to be honest, this just shouldn't have come out. But it's great that we see these kinds of things. But where do you kind of stand on that front?
Well, I mean, we're a fresh team, aren't we? Really, when you look at it, we're only 5 years old. Is it 5 seasons have we been in it? And I mean, look where we're sitting. Like, I don't think we can complain at all where we're sitting at the minute. It's too early. No, I wouldn't say so. It's only a year. Are we going to go through for that much of a downfall over the next year? You wouldn't think so, considering how much we've grown in the past couple. So don't really see how we're going to suddenly plummet. But no, I don't think it's too early. I think you just get it sorted, done, and it's out of the way. We don't need to worry about that when it comes to over the summer and everything else is happening, whatever else is happening, as Twitter likes to make out as if it's far worse than what it actually is. But no, I don't really see what the big hoo-ha is actually, to be honest. We're doing well, so yeah, like I've already said, but yeah, it's just I don't know, actually. It's like I don't even know how to explain it, actually. It's just bizarre.
I think I could see the argument if this was a new contract. If this was United coming out and saying we've offered him 3-4 years, I'd be a bit like, oh, hang on, yeah. Like that's a little bit too. Because then what I think John Fry was referring to earlier, Barry, when he said, remember what happened to Ollie was we've got a new contract, and it's almost the Mourinho thing. Do so well up to a point, get a brand new contract, then the drop-off sees. So that's why I've got no issue with this extension being triggered. Let's see where we go over the summer. And also, I think it's the good thing that this has come out is the fact that it gives clarity to players that are looking to come here. Because if you've still got a little bit of a question mark over who the manager is going into the summer, how can you attract players? Because you don't know who you're going to be playing for. So I'm kind of glad that it's come out in the public from that reason, because it's very hard to sign players when you don't know who the manager is. So it's obviously appeased that. But I don't see the issue with the contract being triggered. That's why you have these clauses in. You have these clauses in to get to a point to see where they are. Same with players, to see where they are and trigger it if they're performing above where you expected them to be at the time.
Did you genuinely just say that if you give somebody a brand new contract, that the performances will dip off, as if that
Not
has
will,
been
can.
scientific. Can. I mean, they can if you don't as well. You know, let's be absolutely clear. With Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that when he took over, that team was in an absolute mess. They were a mess. And he fixed them. And he brought them round. And he progressed, which is what Marc Skinner did. The problem is, maybe it's because I'm old. Maybe it is. I've seen a lot. I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot going on. Maybe it's just because I'm old. But progression doesn't necessarily mean top straight away. Sometimes it's just little bits, little movements, getting forward. And like I say, for a young club like this, it's massive what Marc Skinner has managed to do, because at no point, with the exception of myself, did anyone think we were in the middle of a title race at the start of the season. You've actually laughed me off the screen because you're like, nah, top three, maybe we'll finish third. That's going to be about it. We're second. And if the right results come out, if the top other three teams draw, which I think has got a real opportunity of happening, and we smash Brighton, or even if we only beat them 1-0, all of a sudden we're back in that title race with it being back in our hands. And we're talking about a manager that's delivered a team to that, and we're upset because he's been given a year. Frankly, if they'd have come out and said it was a 2-3 year contract, I wouldn't have been too fussed, because I can't see what he's done wrong, with the exception of not playing players that have come into the club. But we've got no idea what those conversations are. We've got no idea whether or not when these people are signing contracts, he said, you know, you're going to have to fight for your place, or this, that, or the other. We don't know. We don't know those conversations. But I just think that he really should be given a break. I think it's mad. I think it's mad as a fan base. And actually, if I'm brutally honest, a little bit disrespectful to the girls, that what we're doing right now is constantly talking about Marc Skinner, when actually we should be on these shows celebrating the fact that we are doing as well as we're doing. The fact that this is meant to be a Brighton preview and we're effectively sacking half of that off just so that we can talk about Marc Skinner, to me, I just find it really quite disrespectful. I mean, I get it because we've got to have the conversation, but I think for those girls, it's outrageous because they are playing out of their skins and having the time of their life and doing the best that's ever happened for Manchester United Women's Football Club. And we're still here talking about Marc Skinner. We can't get rid of the bloke. So maybe I do need to be Skinner out. Maybe we do need to get rid of him so we can stop bleeding talking about it, because it's unbelievable. It's like I wake up and he's the first thing I think of. It's the last thing I think of going to bed. And not
You've
because
definitely got a picture by your bedside.
All the time.
You can guarantee that, like, if we had any other manager, the same argument would be happening, because people just love to kind of, like, I don't know if it's just as humans we have to find a fault and we have to like pull people apart almost. Like you see it all the time. So I genuinely think that no matter who we had or what the result would be, I still think that people would be like dragging the manager down.
Yeah, we're not even celebrating what we've done though. I hardly see any positives at all. It's just, well, Skinner this, Skinner that. I'm like, we just won another game.
Like, we're doing really well. Like, I think we just need a moment. Like, we all just need to take a moment, actually consider where we are in the league, what we have done to get to this point, and just that actually, you know, we're doing all right. Which might be a shock to some people, but when you actually just take a look, we are doing all right, and people just need to breathe.
Sorry, where are we, Jess? Where are we in the league? Just remind me of that.
Let me just check, because I have a feeling. Are we top?
So not fourth. I'm not sat there begging that we get to the top three.
No, we're not in a relegation battle. We're not mid-table. I have a feeling we might actually be first, and we have actually been first for quite a while now. I get the games in hand and other people's results, but right this second, I do believe that we are in fact at the top of that table.
Top of the table. Do we well in the cups? I mean, I know we had a bit of a nightmare in the Conti Cup. How are we doing in the other one? You know, that other Tin Pot trophy.
I seem to think that we're doing all right in that as well. We're in the semis.
Crikey. Got a good chance to get into the final?
I think, yeah. I think we've got a very good chance. What do you think?
Chelsea, will they knock us out? Because they seem to beat us all the time.
Do you know what? I think this is the season. We are very soon. We are going to get one over on them, and I cannot wait.
I hope it's the final.
Can you genuinely imagine the absolute scenes if we get to Wembley with Chelsea and beat them there.
I would.
Skinner'll still be brought up.
Yeah, someone will still be Skinner out the next day.
Yeah, it will be.
Absolutely.
You know what? I would more than take finishing like third and dropping away from the top two if it meant we beat Chelsea in the cup final, because at least then we've got that moment at Wembley and having a. I don't know. I just want to. I know we won the championship, and that was a little bit different because the quality of the teams. There's a massive disparity between us and the rest of the league. It was obvious by a lot of the score lines, but I'd love to see us just win something with this group.
Yeah, absolutely.
But who knows? When you talk about relegation teams, obviously we'll get onto Brighton in a second. They're firmly down the bottom when you're talking about relegation teams. John wants to go on the record and says that he's not Skinner out.
I'm just going to show that one. I wanted to say, I don't think I'm not having a go at him in terms of Skinner out.
I hate this whole in-out thing. Why can't you? I hate that phrase.
Everyone can have an opinion. I've got no dramas with it. I just wish it was articulated better. I'm yet to find someone who can give me a really decent reason as to why Skinner shouldn't be the manager of our football club. I haven't seen one. Like, not one. Apart from he's not playing players. But those players that he's not playing, like, aren't getting us to the top of the table, are they? Like the ones that are playing that have. So, it's just all hypothetical. There's nothing of fact and substance there. And as you very well know, Connor, I'm a man of fact and substance. And if you can't give me that, then you're very unlikely to win me round to your point of view. Hence why your ridiculous things about knives and forks with burgers will never watch the sunshine.
God, I was wondering when that was going to get brought into this show.
Got to get there somewhere, innit, Jess?
My favourite part, to be honest, my favourite part of being on these shows, just...
Yeah, but Kaz is going to be the one that backs me up, I bet.
No, not a chance.
Probably got no idea what we're talking about.
No, I don't.
Kaz is from Scotland. She'll eat you for dinner on this one.
So essentially, like when you're eating a burger or whatever, like
I know you're going to say here, no.
Oh god,
knife and fork, absolutely not.
Oh, right, okay, maybe not.
Notice how she didn't let you finish there. See what I mean? My granddad was Scottish. He'd have said the same thing.
Yeah,
Bad habit.
Bad habit? No, it's a movement. I'm calling it now. We're gonna.
I say
it moves very far.
A red flag. It really is.
I don't think you should call one or two people a movement as well, Connor.
Well, that's how it starts, doesn't it? You got to start somewhere. I know about 5 people, but there's a few of us. We're getting there. But yeah, we've spent 23 minutes on that Skinner, so that's fair. Like, I don't know this whole in-out thing. I don't know why you can't just have an opinion on it rather than being in or out. Why I hated it when Ollie was around. It was always you've got to be one or the other. Well, why can't you just support the team and just criticise where you criticise and support? I don't know, but that's just me. I can't stand that phrase.
Well, you see, the thing is, we're not just entirely pro Skinner here. Because I can vividly recall over the last couple of weeks us pointing out that he should be giving Vilda Berry some more minutes because she's been playing well. That Garcia we're expecting to see play on the right wing now because she played herself into contention. These are arguments I can live with because we've seen it with our very eyes. So it's not like we're sitting here going, "Oh yeah, he's God's gift to football." He's just certainly not the devil that's being made out. I don't think.
It's there's a lot of talk, obviously, about Chelsea and Villa. Well, they play each other this weekend, so that'll be a fixture to keep an eye on. I've not done my predictions league ones yet. I don't quite know which way I'm going to slide on that one. Let's talk about Brighton then. Obviously, they're second bottom, battling out with Leicester for going down. I don't think any other team is going to get dragged into that relegation battle. I wouldn't have thought, but you never know if Leicester can string a few wins together. Spurs or Reading might get dragged into that. Kaz, I'll start with yourself. What are your your feelings ahead of this game? I'm assuming it's pretty confident that we're gonna win pretty comfortably, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's just a taster, isn't it, for the semis? But we're definitely going to be. It's going to be another game of possession, and it's now unless it's not like a West Ham first half, but of them parking the bus and not letting us through, but we'll get around it. But no, I think it should be a good game. I would like to see maybe a slight change or line up just to see how it plays out a bit differently, especially with a slightly easier game. But no, I think it should be a comfortable, non-stressful win for a Saturday morning, hopefully, because it's quite early for a football game. But you don't need that stress on a Saturday morning. But yeah, it should be all good. No stress.
I mean, Jess, you said we're going to get to the kind of lineup talks we usually do on previews and things like that. But in terms of Brighton as an opposition, obviously they got rid of their manager. I can't remember what it was now. Start of the year, wasn't it? They've looked better with their new coach, but again, they still can't pick up wins. I can't remember the last time they actually won a game, to be honest. I'm just looking at their form now. Drew to Villa away, which is actually quite a good result, to be fair. Obviously, that game against Reading, 2-2 in the last meeting. Are you pretty confident as well that this is just going to be, as Kat said, lots of possession and just how many can we score?
I think they will park the bus, essentially, because I think teams in the kind of lower part of the table, when they're coming up against sort of top three, or top, just to put that out there again, top, I think like that is kind of the only tactic you've got almost. One thing I will say, I've just sort of had a quick look at some of their recent fixtures. They actually did pretty well against City. I mean, they took City to the 89th minute until Bunny Shaw scored to take the game to 2-1. So I do think that, I say this about everyone we come up against, that you do need to treat every team with respect. But I think if we can bury some of our chances, again, it could be a case of, this could be used to kind of build up our goal difference. But yeah, I think it's just a case of burying our chances and not making too many mistakes, not kind of taking our eye off the ball, literally. I know it is quite difficult when you come up against a team like this. You kind of almost switch off and lose a bit of concentration. And I think that's probably the only time or the only reason we'd struggle. It would be if sort of from our own doing, a mistake on our part. But yeah, another, like the second half the other week, another good game last week. That'd be good.
I mean, Barry, when you're looking at it on paper, they've got the worst defensive record in the league. We've got the best attacking record in the league. It should be fairly straightforward. But as a comment that's just coming in, it was something I was going to mention, that this time of year, teams fighting at the bottom are going to be harder to beat. Jess mentioned the City game. It took until the 89th minute for City to come up with a winner. Have we got to be slightly cautious? Not cautious is the wrong word. Aware that they're fighting for survival almost, because if Leicester do, like I said, Leicester win one game, Brighton drop into the relegation zone. So, is there that on your mind, or are you just kind of pretty confident that we're gonna walk this game?
I think it's fairly simple. Insofar as if we get an early goal, Brighton are done for, because we've shown that we get an early goal, we generally go on to go and score 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially even 5. So yeah, I think as long as we get the early goal, we're all good. If not, it then becomes almost like a battle of nerves. And I think, providing there's no silly mistakes at the back, we don't give the ball away, do anything silly or reckless, I don't really see Brighton causing us that many problems. However, having said all that, I do think that we should smash them, really, Connor. I don't want to come across as being too confident, but we should. We said that also about Leicester, and we only just about beat them 1-0. So it's all about mindset at this moment in time. And I think this is where the conversation then about Garcia and Paris and Barisa and Tooney and all of these players, start coming in. We know that Thor's out. We know that Lisa's probably out as well. So with all of that going on, everybody else is fit. So it's literally pick your poison as to who plays where and what they do. For me personally, I'm not particularly worried. I think we will have the possession. We've got it in our locker, 100%. But it will come down to shots on target. And we've spoken about this so many times over the season. If we can get a decent number of shots on target, then I'm reasonably confident that we're going to get a few of those past them. And it's only going to take 2. I don't see Brighton scoring any more than 1 in that game. And even then it'll be a lucky one. So I don't particularly feel worried that we're gonna have to fight back and try and win. I just think it's going to be, we might not get the lead straight away. That could potentially cause stress, because that's generally how it tends to be. But again, you talk about the pressure of the team at the bottom, dogfight, trying to do all of that. We've got that pressure too. Put on by us fans. We talk a lot about the top three. Skinner doesn't need to talk to the players about that. They know it as well. They want it as well. And I think there's a little bit of a thing to be said there about the players on that respect. Do they want it? You've got some of these players that may not have signed contracts that think that, some of them might be angling for bigger money at the club and all that sort of thing. And I keep on hearing people saying, oh, that's it. Just cut open the purse strings, give them what they want, whatever they need, £7 million a year, private jet, helicopter rides around the Grand Canyon, whatever they need, give it to them. How about they earn it? Everyone wants to sit here and talk about, let's start giving contracts out. How about that? Earn it. Smash Brighton. Absolutely wallop them. Do what Chelsea would do. Within an inch of their lives. Forget stopping at 4. Go and stick 8 past them. Russo, go and get yourself a hat-trick. You want to be paid 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000. So whatever you want to be paid, love, go score me some.
You sounded like an auctioneer then.
I can do that, up to 500 grand. But yeah, see what I mean? I think it's that. I think the players now need to start remembering that the pressure's on them as well. And it's not just all about Marc Skinner, like I say. We'll really see whether or not these players are going to be worth the sort of money that people are bandying about that we should be throwing at them.
I'm sorry, that's completely throwing me off. I can't even remember what I was going to say.
Come on, Elvis. A little less conversation, a little more action.
Oh, that's a good one, that. I actually can't even remember what I was going to say now. Oh, my, that's completely thrown me. That was it. Yeah.
Oh, she's back, Gordon.
Yeah, when you were talking about, obviously, if we get an early goal and things like that, it was something me and Rob were actually talking about yesterday. In the WSL, apart from funny enough, Brighton, Reading last weekend, I don't think there's been another game where a team's been 2 or more up and there's been a comeback all season. It's almost pretty confident that as soon as you get 2 up or a 2-goal margin in the lead, that's it, the game's done. I genuinely, if someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's been a single comeback of that margin where a team has then come out with a point or flip the result the other way. So yeah, you'd hope with our defensive record this season, joint best with Arsenal currently, that we should be able to hold out. I don't expect much threat from Brighton. Like I said, they've only scored 18. Obviously, that's a lot more than Leicester, and Leicester scored past us. So there's obviously that to worry about a little bit. But I don't think we should be thinking anything more of Stu Barker. I'm going to completely disagree with you here. I love Russo, but she's not the one I'd be throwing the money at right now. Certainly Honor would be the contract to be sorting over Russo at the moment on current form and how they've performed through the season. Not that I don't want Russo to stay, but I would be. But as Jess said earlier, they should be sorting them all out because we've got other players. Mannion's out of contract in the summer with no option. There's another player that could potentially be walking on a free. Earps is coming up to the end. I know she's got an option. There's a lot of players, so it's a dangerous game to put your eggs in one basket.
I think I mostly agree with you there as well. Like I said, it's very easy to do it with all that, but I don't know. What do you girls reckon? Do you think we know the worth of Russo right now, like Stu's put on there?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably agree with Connor as much as I absolutely love Russo. I think that Honor is probably like our absolutely number one priority. But again, like we've said, just because one is our priority over the other doesn't mean that we can't keep both, and we should be looking to keep both. A team like United, we need to be keeping both. I think Russo is a really good player. She's got a lot of potential, whilst I think that Honor is probably the better player. I think because of the position Honor plays, she's kind of going to reach her peak sooner, whereas Russo's still got like a lot of growth that she can kind of do, basically. And I can't actually think of a better player that we could get our hands on to play up front. I mean, to be fair, same with Honor, I can't think of a better player that can take her position. But I think Russo has got sort of more potential that we're likely to see further down the line. That comment there, we shouldn't be looking to lose stars. We should be keeping both. Really, we need to be. If we want to be the team that challenges or is getting into the Champions League and then looking to progress well in the Champions League, we need to be keeping our world-class players. And both Russo and Honor are probably like two of our biggest world-class players.
Yeah, I agree. Especially that's like our starting 11 players. And we probably shouldn't even be having this conversation again of which one is more of a priority, because when you look at the lineup, they're both in it, and they're both in our, what you would say, probably strongest starting 11, so we can't lose any of them. And I think that saying like, oh yeah, like, oh no, yeah, you can't. I mean, to try and replace her would be, I don't think it's actually possible, because she is at the top peak at the minute. You look over the WSL, who else is there? Even in European football, you still struggle to find someone that's consistent and as good as what Ona is for us. No, I just think there are main big players, and we just need, as a team like United, we should be doing everything we can to keep all of our starting 11 players, and not, well, should we keep her, or we could, just, it's working for us. We're doing something right with them, so keep them. we don't want to.
I just thought I'd check, Connor, because a lot of chat about the contract. So I've got it here for you again. I think it has been updated. Mary Earp's got the option, so that'll get triggered. Like, nobody in the world is going to go, no, we won't bother with that, we'll just sell her. So she's here till next year. Sophie Bagley, option as well. So if we need to, we've got number 1 and number 2 sorted. Emily Ramsey, hers runs out, but she can probably go to Everton, to be fair. She probably wants to play some football for a team that she belongs to. Honor, you've just mentioned. Hannah's got the option. Maria's got the option. Aoife doesn't. And I think a lot will depend on how Aoife gets on over these next few months. So I think there would have been a very frank conversation there between the two of them, because that's certainly what I would have done, which is to say that as long as you are well, then obviously we're going to give you a contract. If not, then, you've got to be careful with these sort of things. Obviously, Jade Moore, she's on loan at Reading, so we can probably assume that that's a goodbye. Vilda's got the option. Hayley's got the option. Carrie Jones has again got an option as well. Leslie Russo runs out. Martha Thomas also has the option. So let's be brutally honest. We are talking, when we say contract, about Russo, Honor, and Mannion. And they're the only 3. So, I agree with what Stu says. It should only be squad players leaving, and I've pretty much thrown those ones under the bus immediately already. But I don't think we've got too much to worry about there. It's just those. And again, I will point it out, as I do every single time, it's not just a club. The players have got to want to stay. And that's not to do with the culture of the club. That's not to do with the ambition of the club. That's to do with what the players want. So, we very much have to remember that as well.
No, 100%. And you're nicking our show idea, Stu, because there is something coming on that. We've done one on Fuso recently. There'll be 2 more coming in the next couple of weeks. Obviously, as we go into international break, so there'll be a couple of those coming up. Fuso will come back. I'm very confident of that. There will likely be some kind of offer from Leverkusen, but I can't see that being accepted from United's point of view. And Grace Clinton, as Mike said there, is absolutely pulling up trees at Bristol, and got a mention in Skinner's press conference as well. So, yeah, I would be intrigued to see what happens with her going into next season, because I can't see her not wanting to play after the season that she's had at Bristol, and they're looking very likely to be going up as well. So that could be interesting whether she goes back for another loan there or not as well. And I see Jay's mentioning Kirsty Hansen again, doing well at Villa. I don't know what to say on this one. I would be surprised if she comes back next season. I'll just leave that there.
Kirsty Hansen's contract actually ends at the end of 23-24, and she's also got an option for a further year. So up to us, isn't it?
Indeed. But yeah, I'm not going to say any more on that. I get myself into trouble. Anyway, someone mentioned the kickoff earlier. Is there any comments in terms of will that make any kind of difference? The reason why I asked this question is because it was something Marc Skinner actually said earlier in the season. I don't know, it was last season actually, about 11:30 kickoffs, and how it messes with players' preparation for a game, because you've got to have like your pre-match, meals or whatever you have, an hour earlier and things like that. And it gets to the point where I think the phrase he was, or the quote or something that he said was, players are having pasta at like 9 o'clock in the morning, which I don't know if anyone would ever want that. That sounds probably one of the worst things, having pasta at that early in the morning. But does anyone think that can make any kind of of difference, or do you think, or is everyone pretty confident, as we just said in the last segment, that United should have enough, regardless of kickoff time?
At the end of the day, it's trap time for both teams, so I can't really see it because it's not benefiting Brighton. Well, I don't know. I guess them being the home team, they're going to get a slight advantage over that because they're already there. But again, I think it's just going to be garbage for both teams, to be honest. So I don't think it's really going to make too much of a difference.
I would say so. I think you're correct. I think they went down today.
They'll already be there.
I think they went down today and they're staying there, which would make sense. I'd be very surprised if they're getting up at 4 a.m. tomorrow and heading down. That would be a worry.
They are. They don't need to change my prediction.
Yeah, definitely. And I think John's referring to contracts. It does. There's a lot of anger towards the club, but maybe there's certain players that just don't want to sign.
Did you have anything to say on the Brighton?
No, I'm disagreeing. No, yeah, I think it's just. 11:30 kickoff is just. It's like a kids' game time. It's. When I saw it, I was like, oh God, that's awful. But it probably will. It'll throw everyone off because they've all have their routines of what they do. For like even just 12:30 games, probably being early enough. But no, hopefully we won't see many more of them. But they should be, as long as they travel today and they're not traveling tomorrow morning. That's all fine. That's okay. So, no.
I'm pretty sure. Oh, okay. John was referring to both. Yeah, I get that. But, no, I thought it was a valid question because Marc Skinner mentioned it, and he has mentioned it a couple. And he's not the only manager, to be fair. I think every manager has brought up. Yeah.
Do you know? I think when it's the men's game, we sit there and we say a lot about these things, about how they get paid a lot of money. And if somebody wanted to pay me the amount of money that even the Man United women get paid, because I don't get paid as much as them, to travel down to Brighton the night before, stay in a hotel, and then eat pasta at a time when I usually wouldn't eat pasta, before then running about, kicking a football, trying to get into a goal as many times as possible, and then travelling back on a luxury bus all the way back up to Manchester, I'm pretty certain that I would take that particular option.
Depends how you are in the mornings, isn't it?
Go down well,
not for me.
I don't really care about the timings. I think anybody who really wants a game to grow, whether it be the men's game or the women's game, has to accept that money's got to come from somewhere. And at the moment in this country, the money comes primarily from TV deals, from that sort of thing. We have to accept that that's going to be the case, that fixtures are going to change and they are going to be put into places and times so that the TV companies get the deal that they need to have. Nobody's going to be putting these games on at 3 o'clock on a Saturday because you've got that stupid out thing that is also hitting the news. But for me personally, I think, is it an ideal time? No, it's not great, but it's just the time that it is. And I think ultimately we've just got to accept that. If we want the money to come in and to grow, that's what happens in the men's game. You get stupid times for that, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock sometimes at the weekends. And nobody really bats an eye at it too much. The fans will never be put centrally in these sort of debates because the TV companies don't exist for the match-going fans. They exist for the people that aren't going to the match because nobody's going to the match and then watching it on the TV. So, they're very much mutually exclusive. So for me personally, I'm not too fussed about it. And I think, as John says, for the first time this evening, I agree. It's the same for both sides. So it's as broad as it is long, really.
Indeed. I was just about to answer this question, but Sporty beat me to it. 15th of May, 5:15. For that one, and as I said, Sporty beat me to it. Some talk obviously about this now Arsenal obviously through, then that game being delayed. I mean, the person I've most feel sorry for is actually on this panel because I believe, Kaz, you were actually planning on coming to that Arsenal game, and if that gets shifted to midweek, that's now not going to be a possibility, I believe.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was actually meant to be, but if it's through the week, then no, because I don't really fancy an 8-hour road trip on a whatever night of the week it may be, so I'll have to miss out on that. I was just going to make a weekend out of actually Manchester, but they've ruined my plans for that as well, so quite angry about that. But yeah, it's a bit of a, I don't really know why there's a knockout. I know it's always happened, but the semi-finals being on a weekend, I don't really know why that is. Because then again, there we go. That's the third time it's going to be changed. And I mean, for fans, both Arsenal and United fans travelling, it is a pain. But that's football for you. Everything changes, so can't really sit here and complain that much.
Yeah, it's yeah. So I don't really have anything else to add on it. It's just frustrating, but
Yeah.
you know, it's always been the way. It's just one of those. It's just annoying.
I will say I don't understand this thing about the Champions League games magically now moving to a weekend.
They've always been there.
That's what I mean. When I say magically, I mean like they've been played Wednesday and Thursday every single night all the way through the tournament. Then they get to the semi-finals, they go, "Oh, I know what will really annoy the club company." You know, because every girls' team, every men's team plays their domestic fixtures at the weekend. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? So it's just another reason why we need to have a go at old Infantino and all that, and just sort of have a word in his shell, like, and say, what on earth are you doing? Who wants to watch the Champions League on a weekend? Put the final on a weekend. No dramas with that if you want to do that. Semi-finals, get a grip of your life. There's no need to be impacted on people's leagues for the weekend. That's absolutely crazy.
I'd agree with that. And looking at the potential dates, here's one for you. It's been floating around in some of our group chats. We could potentially have Chelsea in the cup final on the Sunday, Arsenal on the Wednesday, and City at the weekend following. So we could play the whole top three in a cup final and 2 league games in the space of 7 days. So there's one for you. If that gets moved to the date that, because there's only a select amount of dates it could be. So
like judgment,
one of them. That would be horrendous if we have that week. But you know, we're just gonna have to deal with it if it is. There's nothing we can do about it. So it's one of those, albeit very frustrating. That was literally my reaction for you when I was looking at the dates it could be, and I was like, "Oh wait, hang on a minute, that's right after the final and right before City." So yeah, that wouldn't be good at all. Let's just talk about this briefly before we kind of look to bring this whole thing back full circle and to a close. Kaz, you mentioned about players that you maybe want to see. I'm assuming it's the 2 players we've been talking about all week, in Vilda and Garcia. And there was a question a bit further up about would we be swapping Garcia for Paris for this one in terms of starting. Where do you kind of stand on that one? Because again, we're not going to see wholesale changes. I think that's pretty obvious by now. We're already 6 games away from the end of the season. Yep. I'd say 9 out of 11 are pretty certain. Is that kind of how you're feeling towards? And I'll ask you a 2-part question. What do you think we're going to see, and what would you want to see?
Now, I would like to see Garcia, because I want to see how she'll be as not just being known as a super sub. I want to see her actually excelling, trying to play like 90 minutes if it comes to that. You know, you could obviously sub off and Paris can come on and whatever else. I do think that Garcia deserves to start. I think she just brings a wee bit something different that, you know, especially with Ona up the side and even creativity to bring it into like Tooney's game. You saw her like starting to excel as soon as Garcia came on as well, with just some creativity. I would also like to see Vilda and Tooney together in the first half as more of a creative, because I think first half you bag your goals, second half just a walk in the park, stress free. So I would like to see that and more just play one defensive midfielder instead, especially with the game Brighton. I think is something that you would want and need, even with, you know, a bit more creativity with Russo, because they probably will be shutting her in and she'll be left with nothing, as we've been seeing quite frequently actually recently. But I do think I would like to see them to start, even if it that's just I've kind of thought that for a couple of weeks, but Garcia definitely I would like to see her as the right winger.
No, I don't think too many are going to disagree. And yes, thanks for pointing out my incorrect date. Yes, it's the Sunday. That's what I meant. Sunday, Wednesday, potential Sunday is what I meant to say on my little thing that could happen there. Jess, for yourself again, a lot of people. Garcia seems to be the one, and I think obviously after the performance Old Trafford, and to be fair, we saw her at the start of the season. She was the starter at the very start of the season. That's who Skinner chose to go with until her injury, and obviously it put her out of the squad, and she kind of tried to come in, and she was kind of in and out of the squad with little knocks and things since then. Is that the one change? Well, same kind of question really. What do you think we're going to see, and what would you want to see?
I think we'll see Garcia start. I honestly don't see how we can't. I mean, last weekend I was sat there with my mate and I just kept saying to her, like, really want to see Garcia, come on, really want to see Garcia, come on. Then she came on and then I spent the remainder of the game going, I told you, did you see what Garcia just did? Did you see that? For literally like the rest of the game. So I'm a huge fan. I think her link-up play with Honor just works really well. So definitely play her out on the right with Honor behind. And I just think, I don't know if it's like the Spanish connection or what, but they are playing so well together when they are both on the pitch. The other one, like everyone else has been saying, Vilda. I think there's a really, really strong argument for her to start. She's probably the one that I think won't start. I just hope that then she comes on off the bench. This should be a game where we can get a bit of rotation in for some of those players. Like, whilst I know that the biggest criticism people have on Skinner is his subs, I get that, we're doing really well with the players we've got, so why change too much? But I do think, like, Garcia and Vilda have both kind of played their way into having a shot. Vilda especially, we've not seen too much of her. And again, I think similar to Kaz, I would like to actually see her with Tooney, just see how they kind of work together. I think they're both kind of free-floating players, creative players, and I don't see why we can't play them together. I really do think that's fine. I don't get the argument where you have to play one over the other. I don't really get that. I think they would be fine on the pitch together, and it'd be like quite good to see and interesting.
It's interesting you say it because I just checked what Heine said there. So the last time we played Brighton, obviously the 4-0 win at LSV, we did have Staniforth and Ladd was on the bench. There was also no Russo that day. It was a Paris, Galton, Garcia front three. I can't remember for the life of me who started in the middle of that three. So we did go for just Elam, and it was Elam, Toon and Staniforth as your midfield trio in that one. So again, maybe there is the argument that Vilda could start because we've done it before this season and won very comfortably with Staniforth. Obviously, he's now no longer with the club. Barry, for yourself, what do you reckon? Is Garcia that seems to be where the comments is heading? That it's Garcia on the right. To be fair, I don't disagree with that. But where do you stand on that one?
Well, I would put Garcia on the right, and the reason why I would put Garcia on the right is purely because why would you take Leah Gorton off the left? She's been fantastic this season, so it's got nothing to do with the ability of Lucia and everything to do with the fact that we've already got what I consider to be a world-class player there in Leah Gorton. So, yeah, I wouldn't put her on the left wing for that reason. I think we know the back five. We had this conversation on Wednesday within our fans forum, and the back five is the back five. I know that you would argue that perhaps Millie could potentially drop out of it, Connor, but I don't foresee that happening at this point in the season. I don't think it'd be a bit harsh. Yes, she might have made a couple of mistakes, but we've still got the best defensive record, I think, still in the league. So, my opinion on the team. Keep it the same as much as you possibly can. Don't change what ain't broke. But I do think that Vilda does deserve more minutes. I do think that Garcia deserves more minutes. Personally, I would like to see Garcia start. I'd like to see her start on the right-hand side. Gorton on the left with Russo in the middle. It then just comes down to midfield. I see no reason to deviate from the Ladd, Zellum and Toon triangle or BBR instead of Toon. I would be happy with either, really. I think Ella Toon had her best game of 2023 last week. So, there's an argument in the same way there was an argument for Vilda, and there's now an argument for Tooney to keep her position because she played so well. So it swings and roundabouts, that one. For me, Garcia should start. And yeah, I think I would like to see. I don't really care, Ella or Vilda. I'm not particularly. It's not a hill I'm going to die on this weekend on that one. Don't feel the need to. But yeah, I think that's where it should be. But I've got a funny feeling that Mark will start with Ella and Nikita.
Yeah, I agree on your last point because I think he will, because it's worked so far. So from his point of view, and his argument can be, I'm getting the best out of the squad because Garcia's coming on doing well, Wilder's coming on doing well when she's coming into the squad. So the argument's there that what he's doing is working. However, there comes a point where, for me, if you're a player and you're being told perform well, you'll get your minutes, and you're doing that and you're not, that then sends a whole thing through the squad. Well, why should I bother? Because I'm playing well and you're still not playing me. That would be my slight caveat to it. Highlands, I'm assuming that.
Then he can just come back with an argument about there's a league table. That's why.
Yeah, but you need a squad.
What I'm doing is working, bruv, innit? So just what that, mate? Get over that now. Back in your box, innit?
I think that is referring, obviously, the England squad. Potentially. I don't think it's going to change how she plays or anything like that.
I don't think it is a huge midweek blow for her because, and I say this, and if any of the Zellum family are watching, you know exactly what I mean. I think she's used to it. I think she's been so criminally underused by England, in my opinion. So I think in that respect, she's kind of used to playing second fiddle to Serena's fantastic team. So, you know, I don't think it will bother her in the respect of her performances. In that respect, no.
Yeah. Yes and no. I agree to disagree on that one.
I'll have that chat afterwards then, Colin. You can explain to me how it is that you're so correct.
She's just not better than that midfield of England, but there we are. And Serena would use your argument, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Just saying. The question is, Sport is saying, do we think we might get to see Riviere at the weekend? Off the bench, maybe. I'd be very surprised if she starts.
If she starts and Honor doesn't, I might have to change my bus.
I mean, Kaz, Jess, do you think we might see Because with Tim Mannion, obviously, she's come back from a long-term injury and she's been coming on getting minutes more regularly than some players that have been sat on the bench all season. Do you expect to see Jade at any point tomorrow?
Potentially off the bench. Can't see her starting. I think it'll probably depend how the game goes. You never know if we're absolutely smashing it. He might mix it up a bit, but based on previous weeks, honestly, probably not.
I think she might come on later on, but again, like Jay said, it probably depends on how the game's going. But I can maybe the 80th minute or something might see her making an appearance, but I hope she does come on. But again, we'll just need to wait and see what the outcome of the game is, I'm guessing.
No, that's a fair point as well. And I think, yeah, I'm in agreement with that one. Just a couple of questions, well, quick fire ones really until we wrap it. This usually takes up a bit more of the show, but I don't think it's going to because we were chatting very briefly about this before we went live and we couldn't think of anybody. Is there anyone that you would like from Brighton's squad? And I'm going to change the rule that I always say that they have to start. They don't have to start. Is there anyone from Brighton's squad that you would actually like just to add into our squad? Because I don't think there's anyone that makes our 11. Well, I'm pretty confident that there isn't. Is there anyone that you look at in that Brighton squad that's a standout, or we're talking about danger players? Is there anyone there, that you'd like or want in the United squad?
I'd take Katie Robinson, I guess, if I was forced. No, I think she is a good player. I think when you just compare squads, it's difficult to kind of pick anyone from a team in a relegation battle. But I will say she is better than the kind of team around her, I think, and I think she's got a bright future ahead of her. She's only young, so she would be my choice.
Yeah,
a couple of shouts already.
Yeah, Katie Robinson. No, it's okay. No, yeah, Katie Robinson's probably the only one that kind of jumps out, but I don't think with our current team, even bench, that there's no one really that else would kind of jump out and say, pick me, I'll take you. I don't think so.
Yeah, everyone's saying Robin. I was just having a look at their squad. Fox is obviously a good young talent. She's obviously done a couple of things with the Lionesses in the younger years, but No, I don't. Is anyone? Barry, have you found a name that you would pluck
Georgia
out?
Fox was potentially on my hit list along with Robinson, but let's be brutally honest, we've already pillaged Brighton for the two most important assets that they had. First of which being Maya Letitia and the second one being Polly. So we've already done it. Like the answer to your questions, we did it, and that's why Brighton are where they are. To be honest with you, mate. So that's it. No, I wouldn't want to leave them what they've got and their dignity.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. There's nobody else from my point of view that I could see. Robinson, yeah, is definitely the one to keep an eye on. I imagine she'll be getting a move at some point in the summer, so it's definitely a player to keep an eye on if you like your WSL transfers, because I could certainly see that one happening. Right, we'll come to our score predictions then before we look to wrap this one up. And I was just having a look at the predictions league and what the gist, what people have gone with. A lot of kind of lower score lines, a lot of 2-0s in there. And I've just been sent one. If Yehuda, you're in the comments, sorry, I'm just going to expose you here, who's gone for 6, which is higher than pretty much everybody has gone. Who wants to go first on that one? And who wants to throw a score line and a few goal scorers in for your predictions?
I think it could go any way. It's either going to be a really tight game or it's going to be a thumping. I would probably go with 3-0. 3-0, I'd say. But I think it just depends when we get the early goal.
Who are your scorers in
that? Leah Galton. I can see her bagging. I think we're going to see a Tooney goal. I think it's coming. Surely it's coming. So I'll maybe go with Toon and Garcia.
You and Sporty are on the same page, aren't you? There's a couple of what we got. So we've got 2 2-0s in here, 2 4-0s, 2 3s if you include Kaz as well. Jess, what are you going for?
I don't know. I really don't know. I am gonna say 2, and I am gonna say Russo and Garcia. Yeah, I'm saying 2-0, Russo Garcia.
It's fair enough. Barry?
I just had to go and check what I'd put, because I couldn't remember if I put 4 or 5, and I've gone 4. So 4-0 for me. I feel we will get there comfortably. I think we will get the early goal, and as a result, we'll go on to dominate. And I'm going to go for 3 from the top and 1 from the middle. So I'm going to go 1 for Galton, 1 for Russo, 1 for Garcia, in the hope that she started or will play at some point in the second half, and then one of the other 3 in midfield. So I'm going to go with Zellum, a Zellum free kick, so that she can take her anger out on the ball and the goal.
Yehuda, I don't know if my maths is off, but that doesn't equal 6, which is what you've gone for. Have I read that wrong? Garcia 2, 1, that's 4.
Has he done 6, has he? I reckon what he's done there is he's done Garcia 2, and then again another 2, Toon and Russo.
I think this is going to be an own goal.
An own goal. It's interesting. I was looking at who scored obviously in the first when we beat them 4-0. So obviously it was the 2 Tooney goals, Galton, and it was Leon who scored the 4th in the last game, 10 minutes after coming off the bench. So now that would be something if she's on the score sheet tomorrow. I don't expect to see that. There he goes, hat-trick Russo. I mean, yeah, I really don't know. I'm with you, Kaz. I can see it either being like Reading, and it's really low scoring, and we kind of struggle to score, and it's like a 1 or a 2-0 later on. Or this could be real high scoring, it's a 4, 5, 6 kind of game like we saw last weekend and like we've seen for most of the season. So I'm just going to go in the middle and say 3 because I really don't know. I'll probably change that once I input my score, but yeah, I'll go with 3 because why not? I don't know if she needs it. She probably wants it more than ever, though. Would not score. I don't know. Well, her last goal was Arsenal, I think it was, for United at the Emirates.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, she's one.
That is some time. to not get your goal there, but there we are. Right, well, let's wrap it up there. Then we've covered a lot in the last hour or so. We'll obviously be back on Monday for the usual match reaction antics. We've got another preview on the men's channel in about 50 minutes. Obviously talking about Newcastle. Stu's got a load of questions lined up. I don't actually know what they are. He's got a whole range of topics, so make sure you join us over on that channel for that one. I believe. Yeah, Kaz's Twitter is there. So is there anything else you want to shout out while you're here, Kaz, or is it just your Twitter? I know you've got a TikTok account as well, I believe.
Yeah, I do that.
You don't want people finding that one.
I don't really care. Yeah, what actually is my on that? I can't even remember what I put it as. Cars Footy, I think it is. It's just a WSL and United TikTok, so if you're into that, you can go give me a follow. But yeah, no, nothing else exciting.
Nice one. And obviously Jess and Barry, everyone knows by now with the amount of shows that these two rack up, that's for sure. So yeah, we'll obviously be back on Monday, and obviously it's international break, so the shows will change up slightly for the next couple of weeks. But as I said, we've got a couple of things, specials and some transfer things coming up as well for some news that should hopefully be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So we'll be live on that one. Obviously, as always, make sure you like the video and subscribe, and we shall see you all in the next one.